What are the causes of bad relations? Wow. Um, I think primarily, like fundamentally, the problem is ignorance, of course, and I think that's always the fundamental problem. When I spent right around 9/11, I was working with young offenders who were in custody, not allowed to be on the streets, but were not in a jail setting. They were in a house, like a halfway house kind of place, waiting court dates. And it's like 15 boys, and usually it broke down to about, they would be like half Muslim boys and half everybody else in a sense, because very few of the Christian boys actually practiced any kind of religious practice. Right after 9/11, like the classroom became explosive most of the time, and it fundamentally came down to ignorance. These guys were all like friends in the sense of like as much as you can be friends in a jail setting. Like you have your hierarchies, your Darwinian nonsense going on, but they have to like be in close contact with each other on a daily basis and share bathrooms, and we go to the gym and we have a classroom and all that stuff. So they get to know each other and like each other more or less most of the time, right? But right after 9/11, we had a boy from Scarborough who was originally from Egypt. And we had this young man who was just from outside of Aurelia who had been basically found by the police, had never been to school in his entire life. He just wasn't even registered as a person in Canada. And he got caught doing a break and enter. And then, he was basically this feral, illiterate, like really classic, like from the woods guy. And he had this really narrow kind of stereotypical idea of the Muslim world, where it's fanatical, praying, crazy, gun-toting, people. And he just exploded in class, and it's like, someone just needs to go over there and bomb the shit out of them. And then you had this, Egyptian young man from Scarborough who was actually very articulate and had really good grades in school, but got caught up in a bunch of neighborhood nonsense that just because he needed to, like, it was more important for him to connect with the other local boys than connect with, like, than do the right thing. And, like, at that moment, he got himself in a situation where he ended up having to go to, like, court. And he was, because of the crime, it was a violent crime. He wasn't part of that violent crime, but he was part of the larger group. They didn't get bail. So he like tried really hard to get this other guy to understand that what happened at 9/11 is not representative of the Muslim world, and that there's, like anywhere, like he tried to use the Ku Klux Klan as an example of Christian craziness, Hindu extremism, all that. And it just, the whole classroom, like, very quickly polarized around the two guys, because it was such an emotional thing. And as the teacher, trying to, like, let them talk it through in that kind of like conflict resolution way, and hearing what everybody has to say, you could really see how, nobody knows the other side at all, especially here looking at there. It really is us and other in that kind of, academic language, where we know nothing about them. We know nothing about their cultures. We just think there's one culture, like, that stretches basically from India all the way through to Turkey or something, and that there's no variations, and that you're either Middle Eastern or you're Indian, basically idea, right? And I saw in a magazine that in America since 9/11, only on average 3 Arab works a year are being translated into English. Like, we're so creating separation from each other into these like two fundamentalist camps of, Iran on one, what I call, like, on one end of this teeter-totter, and American kind of like imperial Christianity thing on the other teeter-totter. And the rest of us are in the middle somewhere, trying to figure out what it all means. And I think that's the biggest problem. It's just we just don't understand other worlds any more than they understand here.